Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. Hope you are well by the grace of Almighty Allah. Welcome to an AVS homeschool. This is Emdadul, Assistant Teacher of Mathematics, National Aid and Universal School. Dear students, today I am going to conduct a higher math class of class 9. Our today's topic is Chapter 14, Probability. Here I will discuss the basic topics of this chapter, and I will solve question 9 from exercise 14. And depending on our today's class, I have selected a question for your homework. That is your homework 6, chapter 14, example 7. This is your homework topic of our today's class. Homework 6, chapter 14, example 7. This is your homework. Okay, dear students, if you can understand our today's topic, you can do the homework easily. Okay, dear students, so let us try to solve our problems of today's class. Okay, dear students, let us see at first what we will learn in our today's class. Today in this class we will learn what is probability and basic concept related to probability. The name of the chapter is probability. Basic concepts related to probability. Here I will discuss random experiment, event, equally likely events, mutually exclusive events, favorable outcomes, sample space and sample point, and then determination of logic based probabilities, and then here are two examples given, example 1, example 2, and here is a formula given, and then two special events are given here, certain events and impossible events. I will discuss in our today's class, and at last I will solve a problem from exercise 14, that is problem 9. Okay, dear students, so let us try to understand at first what is probability. Dear students, in our practical life we use the word probability. Probability means the possibility of happening any work, happening anything, possibility of happening any event. We can say that means the probability. Okay, dear students, now I will discuss basic concepts related to probability. Here basic concepts are, at first one is random experiment. Dear students, we need to know at first what is random experiment. Random experiment is where you know all possible outcomes of the experiment, but you cannot say the exact outcome of a certain attempt in this experiment. It means that you know all the outcomes of a certain experiment. It means that all the outcomes we know, but you cannot say the exact outcome of a certain attempt. It means that we can't say the exact outcomes, what will happen. This experiment is known as random experiment. Suppose an example is given here. For example, we know all the outcomes of throwing a dice. We know all the outcomes of throwing a dice. Suppose if you throw a dice, you know that there you may get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. These 6 outcomes are all the outcomes of throwing a dice, but what will we get, we don't know, or we can't say that exactly. Okay, so throwing a dice is a random experiment. Throwing a dice is a random experiment. Okay, dear students, now go to the next topic, that is event. An outcome or a combination of outcomes of an experiment is called an event. It means that if you throw a dice, you may get 1, or you may get 2, you may get 3, you may get 4, you may get 5, you may get 6, any one you may get. If you get any one of these, and that will be known as event. Suppose after throwing dice we get 3. After throwing dice in the first attempt we get 3, and then 3 is known as an event. 3 is known as an event. Here the example is given. For example, getting 3 after throwing a dice is an event. Again, getting an even number in this regard is also an event. It means that from 2, 4, 6, from this any 3 we may get any 1, that will be also an event. Getting an even number is also an event. Now, equally likely events is our next topic. If the possibilities of the outcomes of a random experiment occurring are same, which means no outcome is more or less likely to happen than any other outcome. The possible outcomes are called equally likely events. For example, dear students, if you can understand the examples, then you will understand the definition easily. For example, the occurrence of a head or a tail in the tossing of a coin are equally likely events unless the coin is defective or biased in some way. Therefore, getting head and tail are equally likely events. Dear students, here the example used, it means that if you toss a coin, you may get head or you may get tail, and you know only 2 outcomes are here, total outcomes, and possibility of getting head and possibility of getting tail are equal. In this case, as the possibility of getting any event is same, so these events are known as mutually or equally likely events. Not mutually, these are equally likely events, as their possibility of getting the any event is same or equal. Okay, now next topic, mutually exclusive events. Mutually exclusive events. 2 or more possible outcomes of a random experiment are called mutually exclusive event. If the occurrence of one of those events precludes the possibility of the other events. For example, in the tossing of a coin, the occurrence of a head and tail are mutually exclusive events, since if head occurs, then tail cannot occur, and vice versa. That means head and tail cannot occur at the same time. What does it mean? It means that if you toss a coin, you may get head or you may get tail. But if you get head, you will never get tail in that toss. It means that if any event happened, then other will not happen. This type of events are known as mutually exclusive events. Okay, now go to the next topic, that is favorable outcomes. Favorable outcomes. The outcomes of interest of an event in an experiment is called favorable outcomes. The number of favorable outcomes of getting an odd number on throwing a dice is 3. How can we say? Favorable outcomes means the outcomes we get by throwing a dice. We may get by throwing a dice. If we doing any experiment, if we throw a dice, our total outcomes will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 total outcomes. These 6 total outcomes we will get. If we want to get, suppose we want to get an even number, in case of even number, we have to see the outcomes here, 2, 4, 6. These 3 outcomes, it means 2, 4, 6 is getting 2, 4 or 6 is an event, and that in that case these are the favorable outcomes, getting 2, 4 and 6. So these are the favorable outcomes. Then sample space and sample point. The set of all possible outcomes of a random experiment is called the sample space. The set of all possible outcomes of a random experiment is called sample space. Dear students, now if you see here, if you throw a dice only one time, and you may get 1, you may get 2, 3, 4 or 5 or 6. So these are the total possible outcomes. So if you get the total possible outcomes in a random experiment, and that include in a set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that set is known as sample space. That set is known as sample space. The tossing of a coin has two possible outcomes, or if you want, you can toss a coin. If you toss a coin, then you may get head or you may get tail. So total possible outcomes are head or tail. So if you if you include these possible outcomes in a set, that is head, tail, this set is known as sample space. Head and tail. If the result of this experiment is expressed as S, so we can write S equal to set of head and tail. So in this case, the sample space is equal to head, tail. Suppose two coins are tossed. If you toss two coins, then you may get, suppose here is a coin. If you toss the coin, you may get head or you may get tail. Suppose you got head in the first toss or first coin. In case of second coin or second toss, in case of head in the first, you may get head or tail. You may get head or tail in the second coin or in second toss. In case of tail, you may get the same. Here will be also head or tail. So we can say the sample space S must be head, 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 tail, and tail, head, and tail, 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 tail. This must be the sample space of coin tossing two times or tossing two coins, Okay, dear students. So this is the sample space. Now come to the next part, sample point. Every element of a sample space, is called a sample point. It means that this is a sample space. Here every elements are known as sample points. So HH is a sample point, HT is a sample point, TH is a sample point, and TT is also another sample point. So every points of sample space are known as sample point. Okay, dear students. So if you toss one time, you will get head is a sample point, tail is another sample point. Okay, now come to the next topic, determination of logic based probability. Dear students, here example 1 given and example 2 given. If you see example 1, suppose an unbiased dice is thrown. What is the probability of getting 5? What is the probability of getting 5? The possible outcomes of throwing dice are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Since the dice is unbiased, these outcomes are equally likely. So the possibility of a particular outcomes is 1/6. Total number of outcome is 6, and getting any event or any one of these 6 digits is known as 1/6. This is the possibility of getting particular outcome of 1/6. Particular outcome is 1/6. Getting one event. So the probability of getting 5 is 1/6. So the possibility of getting 5 is 1/6. So similarly, we can say possibility of getting 2 is also 1/6. In case of 2, the favorable outcome is 1. Number of favorable outcome is also 1. So that will be also 1/6. It means that in every case, the possibility of getting any one of these 6 is 1/6. So these events are not mutually exclusive. These events are equally likely events. So possibility of getting any one is 6. Here the question is possibility of getting 5. So possibility of getting 5 is P of 5. We can denote possibility or probability. We can denote this by P of 5 or P5, that is 1 by 6. Okay dear students, now see example 2. What is the probability of getting an even number on throwing an unbiased dice? If we throw an unbiased dice, total outcomes will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And here even numbers are 2, 4 and 6. Even numbers are 2, 4 and 6. So possibility of getting even number is 3. Possibility of getting even number is 2 or 4 or 6. It means favorable outcomes is 3. Favorable outcomes, number of favorable outcomes is 3. As 3 favorable outcomes here, 2, 4, 6. So number of favorable outcomes is 3. So the possibility or probability of getting even number is P of even number. Even number. That will be equal to, if we want to write here, we have to take the, we have to compare the favorable outcomes with the total outcomes. Here total outcomes is 6 and we have to take the favorable outcomes in the numerator. Favorable outcomes is 3, it means 1 by 2. It means 1 by 2. 3 by 6 or 1 by 2 if we calculate. 3 by 6 or 1 by 2 if we calculate. So probability of getting even number is 1 by 2. From this we can establish a formula for the probability, of an event. Probability of an event. So we can write here probability of an event. Probability of an event. That will be equal to, this is the formula. We can write number of cages, number of cages favorable to the event, favorable to the event, favorable to the event. And here we can write total number of possible outcomes. Total number of possible outcomes. Total number of possible outcomes. So this ratio is known as probability. Okay dear students, here in the numerator we can write the number of favorable outcomes of the event. The number of favorable outcomes of the event also we can write. Okay dear students, so this is the formula for determining probability, and depending on this formula we can say this is favorable outcomes and this is all possible outcomes. This is favorable outcomes and this is number of all possible outcomes, number of favorable outcomes. Okay dear students, so we can go to the next topic. What is the next topic? Here if you notice here, the number of cases favorable to an event can be minimum 0 and maximum n. N means all possible outcomes. It can be 0 or n. N means all possible outcomes. It means that here we can say if there is no case favorable to an event, then possibility becomes 0. It means that if there is no favorable outcomes, then the possibility or probability will be 0. And when the amount of favorable outcomes is n, it means then the probability is 1. It means that therefore the probability of an event ranges from 0 to 1. It means that probability of any event, P of E, probability of any event ranges 0 to 1. Ranges 0 to 1. If the favorable outcome is 0, then the probability will be 0. If the favorable outcome and total number of possible outcomes are equal, then the probability will be 1. Okay, dear students, now go to the next topic. Two special events given here, two special events. What are the two special events? Certain events. First one, certain events. Dear students, an event which is sure to occur is called a certain event. The probability of any certain event is 1. For an instance, the probability that the sun will rise tomorrow from the east is 1. It means that every day sun rise in the east. It means that this must happen. This must happen. It means this is sure event. If it is sure event, that is known as certain event, and its probability will be 1. Now, if the probability that the sun will set in the west in this evening is likewise 1. The probability of not seeing the sun in the night is also 1. The probability getting head or tail is also 1. It means if we toss a coin, we may get head or tail. It means total number of outcomes is head or tail. It means 2 total number of outcomes, and total possible outcomes is also 2. So that will be also, probability of also will be 1. Probability of that event must be 1. The probability of getting even or odd in an experiment of throwing dice is also 1. These are all certain events. These events are known as certain events. We may say this as sure events. Impossible events. An event which will not occur. That means which is not possible to occur in an experiment is called impossible event. The probability of an impossible event is 0. For instance, the probability that tomorrow the sun will rise in the west or the set in the east is 0. It means that here there is no favorable outcome. If there is no favorable outcome, then the events never happen. Events will never happen. In that case, the possibility or the probability of that event will be 0. And that event is known as impossible event. Okay, dear students, I have completed the basic discussion of this chapter, and now I will solve question 9. Read the question 9. What is the probability of getting an even number or a number divisible by 3 in a single throw of a dice? It means that if we throw a dice only one time, then what will be the probability of getting a number or getting an even number or a number divisible by 3? So at first we have to determine the number of probable outcomes, and we know when we will throw a dice, we know the total number of outcomes. So easily we can determine the probability of getting an even number or a number divisible by 3. So we can write, throwing a dice, the all possible events are throwing a dice. All possible outcomes or events. Outcomes or events are, here the events are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are all possible outcomes. When we will throw a dice, so the total number of possible outcomes, total number of possible outcomes that is equal to 6. This is the total number of possible outcomes, and we know the favorable outcomes of getting an even number. The favorable outcomes of getting an even number are, so if we throw dice, we will get even numbers 2, 4, 6, 2, 4 or 6, and the favorable outcomes of getting a number divisible by 3, getting a number divisible by 3 are, here in case of divisible by 3 we will get two outcomes, 3 and 6, 3, 6. So if we want to get even or divisible by 3, then which events or which outcomes will be the favorable? So the favorable outcomes of getting an even number or a number divisible by 3 are, we will get even 2, 4, 6, and if we get divisible by 3, then 3, 6, it means 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 6 are the favorable outcomes. So the number of favorable outcomes, therefore the number of favorable outcomes is 1, 2, 3, 4. Here 4. Number of favorable outcomes is 4. So the probability of getting an even number or a number divisible by 3 is, so the probability of getting an even number or a number divisible by 3 will be equal to, we can write here, that is, we have to write the number of favorable outcomes in the numerator and total number of outcomes in the denominator, that is 4 by 6. So if we calculate here, we will get here, if we calculate, we can cut by 2, this will be 3, this will be 2, so we can write here 2 by 3. Therefore the required probability is 2 by 3. Probability is 2 by 3. Okay, dear students, I hope you have understood our today's lecture. Practice this at home and try to learn everything. If you face any problem, then you can contact. Here my contact number is also given. Okay, dear students, do your homework properly, submit your homework timely. Here is your homework topic, homework 6, chapter 14, example 7. Okay, dear students, keep practicing at home, avoid by your parents, stay home, stay safe, see you again. Till then, Assalamu alaikum.